Hey there, baseball fans. Nathan Rohde here, joined by Shooter Hunt for your latest episode of Coffee and Curveballs. We've got some big prospect states to talk about today. We're going to talk about PBR Texas and a lot of the action, Shooter, that you saw down there last weekend. We're going to bring on our scouting director down there, Toby Bicknell, to join us and talk prospects. I went to Georgia this past week, so we'll fill you in on some of the top players from there, but Shooter, obviously spring's in the air, and it's getting busier and busier as the weeks go by.
Yeah, it was an awesome weekend. We've talked about it enough. All the big arms of Texas finally got down there to see it in person, and it did not disappoint. I was really excited to be down in the Houston area. Clear Falls High School, Katy High School, Montgomery High School, all awesome settings to have some big prospects. So I was pumped about that, and I was following you along in Georgia too.
So we're joined now by Toby Bicknell. Toby is our director of scouting in the state of Texas. He's got lots of talent there. He's got a giant state to cover. But Toby, thanks for joining us today, man. How's everything going?
Everything's going great, guys. Thanks for having me. Love the show.
Well, we're glad to have you on. You and Shooter are going to give us a lot of dope today on the comings and goings of the state of Texas. But Shooter, why don't you start it off and tell us, what were some of the highlights? What did you see on your quick little jaunt through the Lone Star State?
I mean, and right off the bat, we said it earlier, the arms that were thrown so hard. There were four arms 93 or better that I watched in that 18 class, highlighted by Adam Klopfenstein, who I saw on the last day. It was the last arm that I got to watch, so he was the last one, but it was special to me. It's a quick arm. He's probably 6'4", 215, 220, but it looks like one of those long, almost basketball-type bodies where, hey, this kid's going to get even bigger, a workhorse-type frame. Was up to 94, but settled in 88 to 92. But that 88 to 92 really jumped at the plate. He was able to sink it, manipulate some sink to the arm side, ended up striking out 10 in 7 innings shutout. I think gave up 1 hit. But it's big velocity. It's clean, polished. I think in the future he's going to make a jump velocity-wise. The breaking ball started off as a slider. I thought at its best it was 80 to 82. Threw 1 to 82 that was really sharp, a swing and miss type pitch. But then the curveball, they kind of melded together a little bit. He also threw a couple changeups that were really good. Didn't really need the changeup. So that happens in high school where if you're a scout, you're waiting around for 1 or 2 changeups in a game, and he threw 2 good ones. He also hit a home run in the game and blasted the ball into the gap. So you know that the athleticism's there. And Toby, I know you've seen Klopfenstein before. I was utterly impressed.
Yeah, he's a really big guy, and the ball jumps out of his hand, like you said. The stuff is good. Hitters don't really get good swings off of him. That's the biggest thing I see when he's on the mound. And he's not the kind of guy that you necessarily are running to get in the batter's box against.
And
No.
It seems that Magnolia is also like a one-stop shop because not only do you have Klopfenstein, but then Jordan Groshans obviously is a guy that we need to be following for the draft. Balanced hitter. Pretty easy raw power. I loved him last summer on the circuit. Toby, I'm sure you've seen plenty of him.
Absolutely. There's a ton of athleticism. He's on the barrel a lot. There's rhythm. It's easy. And the juice is easy. There's not a lot of effort in the swing, but there's plenty of fluid movements. His hands work. Fun guy to watch. Magnolia overall offensively is a fun club to watch because they got a lot of other guys in the lineup with firepower as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're very physical, Rohde. I mean, they all fill out the uniform well. I was looking and I'm like, these guys look much older than high school kids. And Groshans is one of those where he's about 6'3", probably 180, maybe 185 now. Mm-hmm. His first at bat for me, super balanced at the plate and just the barrel lagging in the zone with his quick hands. He smoked a line drive to right field, ended up getting caught. He didn't have a hit on the day, and then by the end, Magnolia was kind of in control. Some of the arms he faced where it was almost below hitting speed to where he was getting good swings off, but he wasn't facing a guy on the field. Mm-hmm. Moved around well in the infield, kind of booted a couple balls at short, but there wasn't much action in the game because Klopfenstein was in control for the most part of it and getting lots of swings and misses. But Groshans, I mean, just that first at bat, you could tell like this kid has a chance to be a pretty special bat.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of a one-stop shop, I mean, Cypress Ranch, in the number of arms that they have on that team There's some 2018 certainly to follow, but the 2019 class just sounds absurd. And Shooter, what was it that you told me in our little pre-show chat meeting? They have 9 arms committed.
They have. I spoke with one of the fathers there who said they have 9 arms that are committed to college to pitch. And there are some guys who are committed to real good schools who will probably not throw this year because, as Toby and I talked about, once they hit district play, or I shouldn't say that, once they get into the state tournament play, you don't have to play a 3-game series. You flip a coin to decide, do we want to play 3 game or 1 game? And most teams going against Cypress Ranch will not want to play 3 games because their depth will immediately take over. Right, Toby?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The amount of arms coming out of there is pretty incredible. They've got a nice lineup, too. They've got some athleticism in the middle of the field. But when you start adding up Ty Madden, Matt Thompson, and the rest of those guys, it's going to be really tough for any offense to have success against them in a 3-game series.
Mm-hmm. Where are they at in the Texas Power 25 there, Toby?
Well, we haven't released that yet today, but they're still going to be up there. I don't know if they're going to be at the top yet. We haven't finalized that. We've got some teams that are making really good runs early on in the tournament season. We've got a couple of undefeated teams. So we'll release that later today at 6 o'clock.
Excellent. So, Shooter, tell us a little bit about what you saw out of the Cypress Ranch guys, because I know you got to look at them. You didn't get to see Matthew Thompson. He pitched before you got down there. But obviously, J.J. Goss, Ty Madden are, some big-time arms.
Yeah, so Madden started the first game that I watched, and he's a 6'4", about 185 pounds, committed to the University of Texas, but was up to 94, and it was real easy for him. Gets down that downhill plane. What stood out to me was we had heard a lot about his slider in the past, and it's still a good pitch for him, but his changeup was outstanding on the day. It was almost like a screwball type dive to the arm side, and he was getting swings and misses, and it was almost like he was toying with hitters. He would pull a little bit off it. They ended up winning that game 15-0, so I felt that for Madden to get a great look in that game of him, it wasn't fair just because it was almost like, let's get this game moving. Mm-hmm. Here it is. Let's cruise through it. And was kind of in and out at times with the control just because it was a blowout game. He'd be on the bench for 20 and 30 minutes at a time. Mm-hmm. But I was impressed just with the ceiling that he has as an athlete. It's a long torso. It's a good backside. And I think that he has a chance to continue getting better in the future. And so that was the first game. The second game, Bick, I got to see J.J. Goss, who we both talk about all the time because we really like him, a 2019 Texas A&M right-hander. He came out, and he's got that Texan feel to him where he's striking guys out and letting them know as he's walking around the mound, just bringing that energy to the game. And he's a wiry, probably 6'1", maybe 160 pounds, Bick. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe. But it's a pretty lean, athletic frame, and when he gets going down the mound, that arm's super quick, loose, and it's not the easiest thing to pick up out of the hand either. With the power fastball, it's got some run, and he can really mix the breaking ball and the changeup.
Yeah, and he was 87-90 as I watched, and there's some late arm side life. It kind of comes diagonal with a cross body where it jumps out of his hand. The slider, at times I thought he wrapped his arm a little bit around it, but he has great feel for the pitch. It was 83, 84, so he really throws it hard. And he didn't feature the changeup as much, but in warm-ups and the couple times he did throw it, that has the same kind of life as his fastball where it's late to the arm side with some fade. I think that's going to be a really good pitch for him where it's a 3-pitch mix. This kid's going to pack on a lot of muscle in the future, and I really liked what I saw about him. But more than anything, the way he competes and the energy he has on the mound, I really loved it.
Absolutely. I remember you texting me after the game telling me about it, and I'm glad you got a chance to see that because – those guys down in Houston, there's some really competitive games when you talk about the caliber of baseball that's being played down there, especially in the tournament season where they're playing some teams that they might not play during the regular season, might not see again until the playoffs. You've got some really good tournaments going on, not just in the state, but also down in Houston.
Yeah, and I didn't get to, Brody, as you said, I didn't get to see Matthew Thompson pitch. He struck out 15 the day before I got down there. But he did played center field, and he's one of those elite athletes. Like, even at the plate, he's got that twitch in his hands. He was facing in that game. They played in their second game, Cypress Ranch, a big matchup against Katy, who was another top 10 team in the PBR Texas top 25. But Cobb is a big time arm for them going to University of Texas up to 93, and Thompson put some good swings on him as well. and just the athleticism. I know what he is on the mound, so seeing him as an athlete, I mean, I'm sure he's going to continue to grow throughout the season. I'll see him in the summer again.
Mm-hmm. And Toby, I know, when we talked about Texas when you first came on board, you said that when you were at the recruiter at Air Force, which if you didn't know this, Toby Bicknell was at the United States Air Force Academy, the recruiting coordinator there, if the American flag behind him today didn't give it away, and the coffee mug, I guess, I saw him sporting. But Toby, you said when you were there that you would go into Texas all the time because you can shake a tree and a guy that throws 90 will fall out. And that's evidenced by what Shooter saw this weekend. And we got guys like Cobb and Braden Fisher. Obviously they're known entities. You've got them in the rankings. But we haven't really talked about them like we have the Kloffensteins and the Grayson Rodriguez and the Jonathan Childresses of the world. It's just arms on arms on arms in Texas.
Every day. It never fails. I mean, I'll get a text or I'll get an email or somebody will send me something on Twitter, and you love getting the information, but it's like, hey, there's a kid out east, or hey, there's a kid out west, or hey, there's a kid at a 3A school. You might want to see him. Looks like he's up to 90. You roll up to a game, and I mean, you could go to a game, and a coach will be like, hey, we're in a tournament. We're going to throw our number 4 guy. We think he's pretty good, not quite as good as our top 3 guys. And all of a sudden you'll see a left-hander that'll be 87, 88. You'll roll up, and some right-hander will come out of the bullpen that, he's a catcher or a left fielder. And the next thing you know, he gets on the bump, and he's throwing 90, 91. There's just so much talent in this state, not only top to bottom and in different areas, but there's so much talent on the mound. Mm-hmm. It's almost one of those things where, everybody talks about that the benchmark is 90, or it used to be 90, and now you're seeing more and more kids throw harder at an earlier age. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, you could literally go to a high school game here and just get your doors blown off by velocity.
So, yeah, Shooter, fill us in on Cobb and Fisher real quick.
Well, Fisher, you talk about shaking a tree. I did not know about Fisher before I went down there, and I was going to see a couple underclassmen on Thursday, and got a call that, hey, Braden Fisher's throwing, and he's been pretty good up there, 93, 94. So I'm like, heck yeah, I'm come over there and watch him throw. So I get over there, and there was some heat in there to watch him. It was a big weekend in the Houston area with the Shriner Classic going on at Minute Maid. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the scouts were able to get a lot of birds with one stone there. But Fisher started the weekend really well. Was up to 94. It's a really athletic arm, not quite as polished as the other guys that I saw. The breaking ball, still trying to develop some feel for it. But because of his athleticism, he was able to throw it for strikes, and guys were cheating for his fastball, so the slider for strikes would freeze them at times. I think he'll be able to develop it more in the future. He was a 4.2, 4.25 runner down the line during the games. So he's got that speed and athleticism. But up to 94, really comes out of the hand well, and he threw really well. And then Cobb, who I thought for Katy High School, another big 6'3", 180-pounder, long frame, also hit third in their order. So it's all these two-way guys. But Cobb was up to 93, and his was more polished. On the mound, he had that fierce intensity, almost that tunnel vision type approach. Threw a slider, really went to the slider a lot, had confidence in spinning that with some tilt on it. Mm-hmm. I thought at times he's got a little bit of a stab in the back, so he would lose his release point at times and walk a few guys, but he was able to really compete and get through it. I thought there some of the other times he lost his rhythm because it would take a while between pitches, where I think if he gets going, he's such a good athlete where that would help out in the future. But his competitiveness, I really liked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we had the I-10 border battle down at Lamar in January, and I had an opportunity to talk to head coach Will Davis, Coach Hatton, and sitting around with those guys and talking about their incoming class, they're really excited about Braden Fisher. Not only that, but they've got a couple other top 100 guys. They've got the Matt kid that's at Ridge Point down in Houston. We had him up to 94 last year during the high school playoffs a couple times. So I know he's a really coveted recruit for them, and they said he might be the best arm in that class that they've got coming in.
Yeah, and Will Davis was at the game, so I got to talk with him a little bit about it, where, hey, we're showing up for this game. There's a lot of heat in the stands right now watching him. So, Will, do you think you're going to get this guy? I think either way, he's going to have, his options about what he wants to do, but throwing 94, a chance to develop on campus, at Lamar where maybe that slider starts to work. Either way, I think Will Davis might be sweating it out a little bit, but I think he could get to campus too.
Mm-hmm. And then real quick, Shooter, last guy I want you to touch on before we jump into Toby's guys is Mason Winn, who seems like to be one of your favorites for down the road.
Yeah, and as soon as I watched him play, I called Toby up. I said, Toby, Mason Winn is a 2020 committed to Stanford, and he is going to be the most hated player in the Pac-12 if he makes it there. And that's a good thing. I'm saying this because his teammates are going to love him. He's the type of guy, it's almost like, I'm going to use some Houston lingo, an Altuve type frame. He's a shorter guy, but his presence as a sophomore is just way beyond his years. His baseball IQ on the field, always thinking, he hit a home run off his front foot, smacked it out, and they were losing the game. It really got the bats rolling. But just like coming around the bases, he knew some teammate wanted to slap his hand coming around third, and that's like illegal in the high school league. And he knew like quickly to pull away. He's constantly in the game, and he's loud on the bench. And they played a really close game. The first game I watched, he must have had 2 doubles and a home run. But at second base, going in the 7th inning, he has between innings the shortstop getting down. Trey Richardson, another really good stop going to Houston. But has him Casey needs to come in to close that game out because I think he struck out 15 last week too. I didn't get to see him pitch this weekend. They were using him as a closer. But it's a special type talent. It's almost Altuve type frame and skills with that Bregman type attitude and energy. So using those Astro guys, that is what Mason Winn is, and I'm sure those Stanford guys are really pumped that he's coming out by them in a couple of years.
Absolutely. You know, one of our scouts last year called me after he went and saw Kingwood, and he said, "Hey man, Kingwood's really young. You need to get down here and see these guys soon." And I obviously didn't have a chance to see them last year during the high school season, but when I got to see Mason Winn at the area code tryouts last summer, you know, he was a 2020, and you know that event's loaded with 2019 talent, and he was running circles around everybody. He was the first guy on the field, first guy off the field. I got a chance to see him this fall in a workout. You know, he was throwing the ball 90 miles an hour across the diamond, jumped on the mound, pumping 90 out of his arm. It's loose, it's quick, it's easy. He can really spin a breaking ball. He's got electricity coming out of his body. Not only is he talented, but he's a really, like you said, Shooter, he's a really fun player to watch.
Yeah, just the last thing. When I think of like a Texas tough kid, I think of like a Mason Winn type. Those are the guys that I think of coming out of Texas where, hey, we're not losing, you know, that – I don't even want to say gritty because his talent is there and he's beyond grittiness where he's just way ahead of his years.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And Toby, let's run through a few guys that you got to see recently, starting with Jonathan Childress. Obviously a big draft name. You know, he's in the high school top 100. He's got a teammate that's also a top prospect. But tell us what you saw out of Childress, you know, the left-hander.
Absolutely. So I got to stay up since Shooter was down in Houston this weekend, I got to stay up here in the DFW Metroplex. And one of the big reasons was because Childress was going to throw. There were a ton of scouts, ton of cross-checkers in to see him when he started against Jesuit. Came out. He's 6'4", 205. It's still a long frame. He's got plenty of room to add strength at the next level and really put on some more weight. But without a doubt, he's creating some angle on his fastball. It's got arm side run, really good breaking ball. His breaking ball is outstanding. He can throw it for a strike whenever he wants. It's got 1-7 shape, comes out 79 to 80. He struck out 11 in his outing, took a hard-fought loss, 5-2. Only gave up a couple of hard hits on some fastballs he left up out over the plate. One was a home run. But, you know, even when he was pitching with guys on base, in the 5th inning, you know, he started to go to his breaking ball a little bit more just because it's that elite of a pitch. I mean, sharp down depth, struck out the side, pitching mostly off his breaking ball. So he's a lot of fun to watch. His velocity dipped down a little bit into the 85, 87 range, you know, in the middle to late innings of his outing. But, you know, he's a guy where you're looking at and you're going, hey, it's early. You know, the weather in the Metroplex and in North Texas has not been super warm. I'm sure his velocity is going to be back up as he continues to progress throughout the spring. Fun guy to watch. The breaking ball plays.
Excellent. Yeah, he'll definitely be one that we need to keep a very close eye on as we move toward June. But fill us in on Will Rigney and Cam Brown. What did you see out of those guys?
Yeah, so I got a chance to see Will Rigney pitch for Waco Midway against Allen High School in a night game on Friday night, and it was cold. The last time I had seen Rigney was at the area code tryouts this summer, the underclass area code tryouts. So Rigney plays football, goes to his high school coach at the end of football season and says, "Hey, I think I want to play basketball this year," right? Walk on, but goes out for the basketball team, somehow starts to get some playing time. Next thing you know, he's the newcomer of the year on the basketball team. So he's still late getting into the baseball season. You go out to the field. I show up at Allen High School, and he's 6'4". He's probably a tick heavier than what I've got him listed at 190. It's a big frame, long arm swing, lots of tilt on the fastball. It was 89-91 with a little bit of arm side run, but a ton of tilt. Topped out at 92. He cruised. I mean, he really cruised. Showed a really nice slider with some downward shape at 76-78. Went 6 innings, got the win, didn't allow any runs, only allowed 1 hit, 1 walk, struck out 13 batters. His 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th innings, he dialed it up a notch. It was pretty good. Pretty good is kind of an understatement, but lots of pound of the zone. It was fun. Even later in the innings when I went to the side just to kind of see a little bit more of the angle of the fastball, it's just jumping out of the hand. And he's strong. He's got a high ceiling. Really nice commit for Baylor. I'm sure he's going to do great things there. So. And
then obviously, if you catch Colleyville Heritage at any point, you're going to see some talent. And Bobby Witt and Mason Greer, are 2 of those guys, to mention. Obviously, it's a very deep team, and it's not just those 2 guys, but those 2 jump out, obviously because of the big league bloodlines for both of them, but also just the level of talent that they bring to the field.
Yeah, so sometimes, when you're out scouting or evaluating or recruiting, sometimes you get lucky. So I was out at a game and I found out that Colleyville Heritage was going to play at Flower Mound High School, both Power 25 teams in our rankings. I text head coach Danny Wallace. I say, "Hey, coach, who are you throwing?" He goes, "I'm going to throw Cam Brown." So I'm going to get to see one of the top arms in the 20 class in Texas pitch against one of the best lineups in the state of Texas. So absolute no-brainer. 6 o'clock start. Show up. Cam Brown was fantastic. Tons of late life on a fastball. Got up to 91. Settled in, mostly pitching 88-90. Super athletic kid, committed to TCU. 6'2", 190 pounds. One of those guys that when you're watching him pitch, you're looking and you're going, this kid's going to throw harder. His breaking ball varies in shape between 10-4 and 11-5. He only gave up 2 runs. Really it was a super competitive game when you look at kind of the breakdown of how it went, because Colleyville won 2-1, mostly because you had Bobby Witt Jr. and then you had Mason Greer driving him in. But, Cam got in a couple of jams, one with the bases loaded. Pitching coach goes out. They have a brief talk, and then the next thing you know, the command just all of a sudden and the body just sync up. The breaking ball gets a little bit sharper. He gets out of that jam, only allowing 1 run, and that was on a fielder's choice ground ball. So really good outing for a young pitcher facing a really good team. Both those teams are primed to have really good seasons, but Bobby Witt Jr. was a lot of fun to watch. He made a play. Oh, yeah, he always is. You're right, Shooter. So he made a play in the 3rd or 4th inning where guy lines a ball, hard shot, lines a hard shot, a couple steps to his right. He takes 1 step, crosses over, elevates, dives, goes up in the air, parallel with the ground, catches the ball midair, falls flat, and just an unreal play. If I'd have gotten it on video, it probably would have been on ESPN top 10 plays for SportsCenter. But really good athlete in the middle of the field. He's got a great idea what he's doing at the plate, laced a double, and then, at the end of the game, he comes in to close out the game, and he starts bumping 94 and 95. First couple pitches out of his hand were 91, then it was a 92, then it was a 93, and then the next thing you know, it's like 3 or 4 94s, 2 to 3 95s, showing a really strong breaking ball, sharp late life. He's a fun athlete to watch. And then you got Mason Greer. You got Mason playing third base now. And what's great about Mason is you've got Mason's now healthy, right? He had a little bit of, he had some issues in the fall, but he's healthy now. He's strong. The frame is really strong. He's played second in one of the games I saw them earlier this week, but he also transitioned to third late in that game. And then when I saw them play Flower Mound, he transitioned and was at third base the whole time. Looks good over there, can throw from different slots. He's switch hitting now. I didn't get to see him hit right-handed, but the left-handed swing is loose. It's easy. There's strength and bat speed behind it. So, Colleyville Heritage is primed to have a good year, especially with those two guys and a number of other high-end D1 commits as well.
Mm-hmm. And then real quick, let's wrap up with a few more guys here out of Texas. Mateo Gill, obviously a standout at the Super 60. You saw him go off this weekend. Zachary Gregory is another guy that you highlighted. And then you got a chance to see the speedster in Max Marischak.
Yeah, and let me start with Marischak because, he's a Texas Tech commit that all the scouts were out watching him have multiple at-bats this weekend. They were really dialed in, watching him hit in every at-bat, getting a ton of video. He's a phenomenal athlete. I mean, the speed really plays. It's electric. He can literally score a run on a walk without anybody behind him doing anything offensively. I saw it happen. Steals second, moves up to third on a dirt ball that was right in front of the catcher, and then another dirt ball when he's at third base that barely kicks outside of the dirt at home plate, and he scores.
Wow.
Uber fast runner, electric speeds, got a really strong arm in the outfield too. Almost had 2 assists throwing guys out at the plate. So there's arm strength there. And his bat speed's good. His strength is good. He had some really competitive at-bats this weekend. That's the biggest thing I'd say. He can bunt for a hit pretty much any time. He can run a 4.0, sub-4 down the line. I think I had him one time at a 3.66 on a drag. And you're talking about a guy that's going to put a ton of pressure on defenses in the Big 12. He was a lot of fun to watch. And then, on Saturday, I got a chance to go see Timber Creek because I've seen Mateo, obviously, at the Super 60 and at previous PBR events. So I got a chance to go see Timber Creek play College Station. And College Station, is a Power 25 team as well. Mateo went off offensively. Not only does Timber Creek have a good lineup, but they've also got Gill playing shortstop. They've got Zachary Gregory, who's committed to Arkansas, playing third base. I like this team a lot. Mateo swung the bat really well. Highly competitive shooter. When you were talking about Mason Winn, same type thing with Mateo. Really enjoyed watching him compete. He came around and scored on a single by one of his teammates. And then the ball got thrown around a little bit, and he's still standing off to the side at home plate, waving teammates home, keeping the other teammates back from giving high fives because the play's still going on, almost coaching them up on the field. He had a big 3-run home run to put them up later in that game, and the power was definitely on display. Zach Gregory, also a really good player. This is my first time seeing him, but smaller, strong, compact kid, good arm strength across the diamond, but it's a left-handed bat that's going to play. I mean, he only got, he got hit 3 times, so I didn't really get to see him do a ton offensively. But there were a couple times where guys hung a first pitch breaking ball on the inner half of the plate, and he's got a loose, compact swing, gets his hack off, and he's going to be a fun one to watch the rest of the year and next year at Arkansas as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nice,
excellent. Well, Toby, that's all great info. We really appreciate you joining us today. Good luck down there in Texas, and we'll be sure to continue to follow along the rest of the spring.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
You bet, man.
Thanks.
Shooter, to wrap up here real quick, let's touch on just what I saw in Georgia for a couple minutes. But I go down there, and rain and injuries were kind of really getting in my way.
I'll say
it really prevented me from seeing a couple of top guys, but Kumar Rocker made it worth the trip. Friday night, I go out. It's supposed to be a 6:00 game. Get delayed because umpires got inadvertently canceled, so they had to call for umpires. So we waited an hour. Sun went down.
You should have stepped out there, Rody.
Yeah, right. Temperature dropped as the sun goes down. Umpires take an hour to show up. So Rocker's got to go through his routine again. So he's going to warm up again. He's told, don't throw as many pitches, but start over as if you were starting the game. He goes out in the first inning, first pitch, 95. Second pitch, 94 on the hands, and the guy somehow makes contact and finds a hole next to the third baseman, leadoff base hit. And it's like, okay, is he going to be a little shaky because of this delay? Strikes the next guy out. Third batter, base hit. First guy scores because he advanced on a ball in the dirt, but he got thrown out. The next guy got thrown out at second, trying to stretch it into double, and then Rocker strikes the final guy out to end the inning. So you're thinking, all right, it might be a little shaky start. It could have been the delay. It's really cold. What are we going to see here? Innings 2 through 5, different dude. 92, really? 94 the whole time. Downhill playing, bottom of the zone, plus life, plus fastball, and a hammer of a breaking ball. Like, just absolutely filthy wipeout pitch that was unhittable. So to see that for those final 4 innings, he threw exactly 60 pitches, 40 strikes. Breaking ball was 82 to 85. Depth. Future 70 pitch.
Wow.
Sign it, date it, stamp it right here, right now. Future 70 pitch.
Guarantee.
So, I'm sure you saw the video, but that was special. That was absolutely special.
Rocker's been one of the guys since he came on the scene as a freshman where it was like, whoa, what is this? Because the ball just jumps out of his hand. And it's been one of those where he's such a big frame. It was which direction is the frame going to go in the next couple years? What did he look like on the mound? Is it any different? Because he has a big physical frame.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because last summer, he's a dude. He's always been a dude. There's no doubt he's been a first round caliber player. But he is different than last summer in a couple of aspects. One, the frame is better. He lost. He said he lost 10 pounds, which he must have turned a lot into muscle because it looks like he lost a lot more than that. So he's like 6'5", I guess 240 or 250 now, but he looks like a defensive end. And he's athletic on the mound. He moves well. It's an easy delivery, high leg kick. Like right now, I would say, you know what, I'm less concerned about the frame than I was last summer. Then on top of that, the stuff obviously ticked up like we see out of a lot of guys from last summer. He had really good stuff last summer, but it's even better now, and he's commanding it. Like commanding the fastball down in the zone, throwing the breaking ball for strikes, getting guys to swing and miss out of the zone. We're just talking about a different guy from last summer. Went from being the first round guy to, if this guy makes it out of the top 10 picks, something happened. So he'll be one to watch, very closely. I know we've said that a lot about a lot of guys today, and we will continue. There's so
many in this 18 class.
I know it's insanely deep, but he's obviously put himself at the front of the pack. So I can't wait to continue to hear about the rest of his starts. But real quick, touch on a couple quick guys that I saw. Cole Henry was 89-92, plus life on the fastball. Was a little erratic. He's got that head whack in the delivery that can hinder his command a little bit. But, only allowed 2 base runners in 7 innings, struck out 12. Breaking ball was inconsistent. But what stood out for me was his feel for the changeup. The changeup was really good. I had not seen that out of him before. It had been a while. He didn't, pitch a lot on the summer last year. I'd seen him more as an underclassman. But the feel for the changeup with some run on that pitch was really good. But
Brody, we've had a lot of changeup talk today on a pro spin show.
I know.
It takes a lot for us to do this.
Hey, Kumar Rocker, he's got the spin that's good.
Well, there we go. Spin wins, Kumar.
Exactly. But then I saw a couple hitters too. Will Banfield, Parker Meadows. Banfield did see a whole lot out of, mostly just because I saw 5 plate appearances and he walked in 3 of them. A little bit of some length into the swing, but obviously a strong kid, more of a defender behind the plate than he is a bat right now. Meadows, younger brother of Austin Meadows, looks the part. Long, lean, athletic frame, glides on the bases, just chews up ground with these long strides. At the plate, he's got some movement in the hands that kind of disrupts his timing at the plate, but it's good bat speed. He barreled 1 ball for me, so had a couple of hits, couple of stolen bases. Saw average arm, future above average from the outfield. He even got on the mound. Was 88-91 and spun it in the last inning. Threw me 1 curveball at 76. It was pretty good. So there's your curveball there for you. Kumar Rocker and Parker Meadows, the outfielder, spinning it. So all in all, a pretty solid 3-day swing down there in Georgia.
Nice. Well done. You have to get back down there soon. Get a look at Kumar again at the end of the year.
Yeah, hopefully. I'll see. It's only a 6-hour drive. I'll see if I can get back down there. Obviously, I want to get Ethan Hankins when he's healthy. Try to see Anthony Siegler, but his ankle was tweaked a little bit. He'll be back soon. Nothing serious. It was a wet night, so they want obviously an abundance of caution there. But yeah, probably have to get back down there. Cole Wilcox is a guy that I'd like to see. So another trip down to Georgia might be in order in the spring. So, nice. Shooter, what's next for you?
Well, this weekend I'm staying local. I'm going to go check out Oregon State's playing against or is hosting Cal State Fullerton. So it should be a good college series for me. And before I stop, I want to apologize to all the Northeastern baseball players because last week I talked about how the Southern kids are all playing their games while the guys in the Northeast and the North are hoping that it doesn't storm or snow. And the Northeast got blasted by a nor'easter. So my bad, guys. Please forgive me. My bad.
Only talk about sunny weather. About sunny weather. So
sorry.
Well, I'm staying local. I'm staying local as well this weekend. UVA is coming into town to face Duke. So we've got them in town. So I'll check them out, and I'll actually be home for the next few weeks. There's some North Carolina stuff, high schoolers that I can check out. And then a few weeks from now is the NHSI, which we'll be talking plenty about. So still in North Carolina for a few weeks before I hit the road again, but certainly looking like it'll be a good few weeks. So nice. Be sure to jump on prepbaseballreport.com if you want more details on everything we talked about today. Shooter had a bunch of entries for On the Hunt from his trip to Texas. The road show obviously was in Georgia. Jump on PBR Texas, check out everything that Toby has to offer. And like always, we'll be back next week. So for Shooter Hunt, I'm Nathan Rohde. This is Coffee and Curveballs. And until next time, we'll see you guys at the ballpark.